So, you want to introduce some people to gaming that did not grow up with video games. That can be a difficult thing to do because older people tend to be set in their ways and will not accept the idea that video games are not just for kids. They can be entertainment for everybody. So if you've got a friend, a coworker, a parent, a grandparent, an aunt, or a creepy uncle, they probably don't see games as being something worthy of their time, even though they probably binge-watched Seinfeld or something when they found out it was on Netflix on that internet thing. So these are the top 7 games for adults. Games that will let you introduce people, grown-up people, to gaming in an easy way. The title may give you different ideas, but that was in no way clickbaity and intentional. Also, you may be seeing those six in the background, but don't start there. They won't understand anything, I guarantee it. You have to ease them into gaming and let them get to that point by themselves. Or at the most, nudge them into that direction once they get above a certain stage. But it's the beginning that is the most important. The point at which they make contact with video games. And here are some good places where to start. Number 7. Farming simulator games and other kind of simulator games. These are not necessarily great games. They are honestly kind of boring and sometimes rather stupidly built, but they have a certain sense of realism to them, a certain sense of believability, a certain sense of, hey, this is a game, but it's not about shooting space lizards with a jackhammer shaped like an ocelot. It's a game where you run a business that is related to farming in this case, or it can be related to repairing cars, only if that game didn't suck, or it can be related to driving a forklift, because there are such games, or driving a bus around town. It gives them a sense of, oh yeah, this isn't just a toy, this is something that can train you for a certain occupation, or where you can experiment with ideas for a certain type of business, a certain type of job. Yeah, that's a good hook. And once you get there, you can then push them forwards into more varied kind of games about simulating things in terms of business, like Transport Tycoon, Roller Coaster Tycoon, SimCity, and soon enough they will be playing pretty much any strategy game that's based around the idea of economy. They'll probably get into EVE Online and you'll never see them again. I'm sorry if that happens. Number 6. Broken Sword or maybe Gabriel Knight. Now, farming simulators are all good and that, but they kinda lack a narrative and characters in a sense that you're watching a story or something. Broken Sword and Gabriel Knight have that in spades, and most of all, unlike similar adventure games of their age that are as good in quality as this, even though they do contain some elements of the fantastical, of the metaphysical, they begin, for the most part, grounded in reality. Even though they're cartoon, even though they're drawn, they feel real and they are acted real. They are believable. They are grounded. It's a very important thing to show adults grounded things, because if they just see a space rabbit jumping on mushrooms, they will roll their eyes and then go away. The Walking Dead series could have also been a good pick, but those rely maybe a bit too much on emotion and less on actual thinking. So you want to get them into games and still be a bit above the rest, a cut above the norm. And these games will absolutely do the job. They are fantastically written, they have great stories, superb characters, puzzles, and will eventually lead the player to try other story-based games. They'll even try RPGs. Maybe they'll get used to combat. If not, there's the story mode, also known as playing any console RPG on normal difficulty, because you kinda gotta face it, those games ain't Ultima 1 where you would die of starvation in about 10 moves and you had no idea why. Don't start them out on Ultima. Let them get there eventually, with maybe some pit stops into Baldur's Gate and Planescape Torment, but again, those are more difficult games to get into because they require a certain knowledge of a rule system, and you have to face it, adults don't really have time for that. They've got work to do, they've got children to raise, they just need something that can occupy their time and let them enjoy themselves for a bit. Now, going completely against everything I've just said, Number 5. Civilization. Civilization is what you would call a time vampire. It takes time from you and gives you eternal life in return, or at least enjoyment, for what to you may seem like 5 minutes, but in reality was about 3 months. Civilization, in basically every version of it, I would say maybe not 3, due to the massive unit spam and kind of really long wait times. 2 can get annoying too. 4 and 5 are probably the best ones to start with, maybe 6 if they fix the fact that the AI was kind of stupid. Civilization is a game that an adult can play very easily. It's got everything they would want, which would be control over everything in existence and the ability to nuke anything that disagrees with them. It's especially great if they like history, you know, ancient history, more recent history, the wars. It'll give them an enjoyable experience that is not difficult to learn for them. Civilization is not a difficult game to understand. It takes a couple of minutes to get the basics of it, but eventually they will get there, and you'll start seeing the one more turn effect rather soon, I'm guessing. So if you see them at their PC when it's 3 a.m. in the morning and they have to go to work at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m., please remind them that it's okay, these things happen, but you have to manage your time better. Otherwise you get fired, and then I'm gonna have to support you. And we agreed I wasn't gonna do that until you were old and I would put you in a home. Or whatever your family dynamic happens to be. Number 4. Silent Hunter. Continuing on the idea that your parents, grandparents, sons, uncles, whatever may be into war stuff, here's one that usually does the trick. Silent Hunter, or even Silent Service 2. These are quite detailed submarine simulation games. And because it's a submarine, not a fighter plane, not a tank, not something that needs to move quickly, not something that requires very fast reaction times, because it's a game where you can take time to think things through, to plan stuff, to do a mission now and again, it's ideal. And because it has some action in it, you know, when you eventually get to shooting down enemy planes that may circle you or just blowing up convoys, it will have some exhilarating moments that will get them to like this game and games in general. After that, they can upgrade to, I don't know, something more boring like Flight Simulator, or they can try and experience a more action-oriented version of this game in the form of World of Warships or War Thunder, a game that has planes and boats and tanks as well, and then you can go on to play with the tanks, with the planes, play World of Tanks, World of Planes, play all sorts of combat simulators, give them Crimson Skies at some point, and they will pretty much love games. Number 3. Stardew Valley. If they're not really inclined towards military games, then give them something completely different. Stardew Valley, this is a game that sort of is a bit connected to the idea of farming, but it's also about interaction, it's about socializing, it's about building a community-ish thing. Building relationships at least with other characters in a community. It's not The Sims, it has actual gameplay and direct control over a certain character that you can take on adventures, and you will explore and discover the identities of several other individuals within a small town. It's a wonderful game that will guarantee that people will reserve time for it whenever they can to just build another plot of land and plant something on it, give another gift to a certain somebody in town, go deeper into the mine, fish some more, maybe poison the governor. So many options, so many options. Number 2. Grand Theft Auto Vice City or newer, or Mafia, or Godfather 1. Now, I played and finished Godfather 1, it actually was okay. Now, the reason I'm recommending these games is because, well, crime dramas are incredibly popular, and, you know, the Mafia is probably one of the most compelling subjects in cinema and TV as well. I mean, you had The Godfather, the movies, you had The Sopranos, you had Goodfellas, and the GTA games going from Vice City onwards were basically about this, about organized crime, but in the form of a story, in the form of characters, in the form of you not being just some mute psychopath that goes around killing everybody. Sure, you can still do that, absolutely, you can do that with no problems, but there's a story there, there's characters, there's a point. There's feeling, there's emotion, there's action, there's backstabbing, there's drama. There's everything you would want in a story about crime, violence, Mafia and all sorts of other stuff. And hey, you have the Mafia games too, which at least one of them is good, even though it may be a bit hard to play now. The second one was okay, I guess, and the third one I don't really remember. And like I said, the first Godfather game, I do not remember it being awful, especially since it followed the plot of the movie quite well, and some of the characters who weren't Al Pacino actually look like they're in movie counterparts in the game. It's sort of like playing The Godfather with some extra bits added on. But don't let them in GTA Online. They will uninstall the game in 5 minutes, I guarantee it. And from here, because, you know, these are action games, they're easy to learn, easy to understand, they can pretty much go anywhere where there's more action. They can go to The Witcher 3, which also has a great story, and let's face it, it's not all that focused on tactical combat, so it'll be easy to understand. It's more fantastic, but hey, you can't just keep pushing the idea of the story, that it's important, that it's got great characters, and eventually maybe they will go into it. Give them Dark Souls and they'll hate you forever. And the number one game for adults is Bejeweled. Any version of it, be it on a phone, on a PC, not your PC, because if it's your PC, it's not your PC anymore, it'll be theirs forever. I know this from experience. Do not let them play it on your PC, they will never stop. Why Bejeweled, you may ask? Well, it's simple. It's a compelling game. It's about moving colored dots and triangles and shapes around, making them explode. It's like Tetris with no planning required, no skill, just moving things around and seeing things explode. It's, in a way, brilliant. Now sure, pretty much every other kind of game would work, but the Facebook ones are all absolute utter garbage when it comes to monetizing the crap out of your spare time, and I honestly can't think of many other. Well, Chuzzle, also made by PopCap. Remember when PopCap was an independent studio and could actually make other games than Plants vs. Zombies? Man, those were the days. There's versions of this idea of the Match 3 concept since, the Terminator, the NES days, when he had jewels or gems, whatever it was called, with that Statue of Liberty, that score end, he'd match gems non-stop for hours and hours and hours. It was good. And Bejeweled is good as well. So give it a go. Tell them to give it a go. Show them. Explain to them, oh, you move this. Actually, don't even have to, the game explains it perfectly. It tells them, move this, it shows them the effect. Bam, that's it, that's the game. Go on. It'll be compelling as hell. They'll never stop playing it. Really, they never will. You're gonna kinda have to be responsible for them now. So I hope you're up to it. Well, these have been the top 7 video games guaranteed to end an adult's social life. From these games, you've got them hooked on gaming. They will try new things, better things, more complex things. Maybe one day Deus Ex. It will probably take years, but who knows? Maybe one day. Maybe. As long as it's not Invisible War or Mankind Divided. Not those. No, not those. Goodbye.